What's up, CHFFL? We are live for week 7 of the 2022 season. Oh, and a good one. It has been very interesting stuff to this point. Last week, our first week of interleague play, and of course, covered on the Two Tight Ends podcast, but the Smut Hut dominated, taking 5 out of 6 games. One big surprise, Mark finally giving Swan a loss in a high-scoring affair, and one which led to Mark being team of the week. Low scores on the season continue to be a story that I want to follow. I gave Grant some of my research to use in the podcast, but it is about 6 points lower per team per game that we are consistently seeing this year, which is something to monitor. I've seen other people claim that fantasy scoring is down a lot, and I know that NFL scoring is down a lot this year, so it would lead to the conclusion that fantasy scoring is down as well. It's really affecting things. I think this is a year where we have more volatility and more separation from what experts predicted. Of course, you have the Broncos were a big one that everybody expected to be good, and then they just weren't. And some other teams have just been disappointing as well. So anyway, enough of that. The average score this week was only 110.68. And with fractional scoring, historically, I would expect it to be around 125, 126. And this is the second really low week that we've had. But anyway, we had a trade review for this week. Alan Lazard went from Parker to Wes for a 6th round pick. Lazard has played 5 of 6 games this year. He's averaging 14.5 points. But he has 4 total touchdowns. And so to me, Lazard is a touchdown dependent flex play. I went and looked and did some quick math before this. The idea with Lazard is that he's become Rodgers' favorite and the Devontae Adams. And if you believe that, Adams averaged about 13 touchdowns per 16 games his last 5 or 6 seasons with Green Bay. I forget which I did now. But anyway, a little less than a touchdown per game. So if you think that Lazard is the new Adams, then he can keep up this crazy touchdown streak and finish with 10 to 12 touchdowns. I don't think he will get quite that many. I expect him to end with more around 8 or 9, but still, I think a 6th round pick is about right. I wouldn't have paid any more for that. For Wes, he needed Lazard because Darnell Mooney and DJ Moore have been such big disappointments, at least for now. And we don't know if we're going to have, with the regime change, with Darnold coming back, maybe DJ Moore can start to be a little bit better, but at least the expectations that he was finally going to break out like people have been wanting for a few years, that's been just thrown in the trash for now. So Lazard is a good pickup for Wes to stay in the race without committing too much. He's got these big super teams ahead of him, Bannis, Swan, Grant, but on the standings, he's not out of it. So this was his way to kind of dip his toe into being a buyer and seeing if he can stay afloat for a few more weeks. Parker gets a good price, arguably selling Lazard high here. And he just picked up Juju, who seems to be a comparable kind of low wide receiver 2 flex play. So he could part with Lazard. So I think this was fine for both teams. Again, our league has gotten really good at making trades. There aren't nearly as many lopsided ones as there were 4 or 5 years ago. Waiver report for this week. I dropped Alec Pierce to pick up Latavius Murray, and I was right with my hunch that Murray was going to get the lion's share of the Broncos carries. Problem is the Broncos suck, and that's just not worth that much. Grant was happy to go get Alec Pierce. We've known since the draft that Grant likes Pierce as a prospect, has had his eye on him. Bill gets Matt Ryan for $6. Talked a lot about this in their podcast this week. I mean, if the volume of passing stays that high in Indianapolis, Ryan's going to be a QB1, a top 12 quarterback. We'll see. Jonathan Taylor's going to be back this week if they throw it quite that many times. I mean, even 35 or 40 attempts would make Ryan serviceable against the Titans. And then Swan gets Robert Tonyan for $3. Everybody's always looking for tight end fill-ins. After waivers, we had some interesting things. Max went in and picked up Elijah Moore. I dropped him too. I can't keep being patient with him. The Jets, the defense is good and the running game's good. They just don't throw the ball, and Moore seems to be like the 3rd or 4th target there. I have a little suspicion in my gut that this is going to be my OBJ last year, where everything was bad with him in Cleveland. I dropped him, and he ended up being a pretty good play when he moved to the Rams. We'll see if Moore sticks with the Jets or if he's able to get out of there. It seems like he wants out. Stan picks up Kenyon Drake, which was a good grab because J.K. Dobbins going to be out again. Drake got a lot of action with Dobbins out last week. One more thing for post waivers. Bill just dropped Jerry Jeudy, and I know that whole situation with Russell Wilson and Jeudy has been frustrating for Bill. Maybe worth it for someone else to go pick up Jeudy and see if the Broncos eventually figure things out. Someone else might have a little more patience. If you don't have the directly bad taste in your mouth from a situation, you can stomach it a little better than someone who's suffered through it for 6 weeks. All right, now let's get into predictions for this week. Last week I was 4-2. I'm actually really good on the season so far, 27-9. Mark was the team of the week. One of the lower teams of the week we've had, under 140 points, but still a very important win for him. And if everybody else is struggling, it's a big success for you just to maintain your pace. Grant won the 2 tight end bowl against Bill, our game of the week. Fun, good times. Let's transition here to slider view so we can start looking at these games. And we're going to start with my Atlanta Pipe Burst against Parker's Schindler's Fist. Parker picked up his first win last week, an upset of Max. He scored over 120 points. Don't think we're expecting that again this week, although he does get me with Josh Allen on a bye. We're going to have to do something here. Keenan Allen is not going to play this week, which is very frustrating because they're not going to rule him out before 1 o'clock. So I'm going to have to drop somebody here, probably Zay Jones, I guess. But Jonathan Taylor, we are going to get back. ESPN currently has Derek and I projected at 118 before even putting Taylor in there. Parker projected under 100. Fantasy Pros has Parker down at the bottom, gives the Pipe Burst a 92. You'll notice if you look at these Fantasy Pros power rankings for the week, they are a lot lower than they have been in weeks past, which makes sense. We've got bye weeks, we've got injuries. Everybody is just trying to survive interleague, I think. The Smut Huts, everyone's afraid that everybody else is going to get wins even if they get a win. MAGA's looking for any chance that they can to get a game on somebody. So with Allen on the bye, this was the perfect time for Derek and I to face Parker, and I like us to take this game. He has no Lazard now. Ayuk and Schuster are serviceable. Isaiah Pacheco apparently is going to be the starter for the Chiefs. We'll see how much work that actually translates into. We know the last time Parker started Pacheco, it was disappointing for him, but potential high upside there. But there's just not firepower on Parker's team. I don't expect him to put up 120 points again, and I expect Derek and I to take this win. All right, let's move over next to Max's Super MAGA. It's not a joke against Marty's Thrusters. And I got a refresh here. ESPN, always with this glitch. Very frustrating. It's a live show. And I think so far it's been going smoother this week. One person is actually watching right now. Hello. Alrighty. So, while waiting for that to load, Fantasy Pros has Max at a 90 and Marty down at an 80 this week. Let's see, it's... All right, so Max with Herbert, Jacobs, of course. Mostert looking more and more like a high-end RB2 week over week. He definitely has that Miami job. Debo and Kittle. We'll see what happens with the Christian McCaffrey trade. If that opens up the offense for a lot more scoring, or if he's going to be a target hog like he was in Carolina. I don't think that San Francisco is throwing a tremendous amount to their running backs. And obviously you don't pay for Christian McCaffrey to not give him targets. Broncos defense, interesting matchup against the Jets this week because I feel like the Jets are actually a really good stream against the Broncos. No significant buys for Max and no significant injuries. Oh, he was able to put Elijah Moore into the IR. I didn't realize that. I guess because I think it's a healthy scratch, but well done, Max. All right, and then over on Marty's side, Jeff Wilson still projected at 14. And again, the big question is, McCaffrey's only had 3 days. Does Marty get one more good startable week out of Jeff Wilson? We'll see. Caleb Huntley, the Atlanta running game looks good, but who's the guy? I don't think it's been Huntley, but there is always a chance of a touchdown or that he becomes the hot hand there. This is a really tough week for Marty with Diggs and Singletary on a bye. That makes it really tough. Missing Diggs. Devontae Adams still in there. I'm wondering if Devontae Adams is going to get suspended soon. He's definitely going to get suspended for that incident of assault on the sideline where he pushed the cameraman. I just don't know if or when it's going to happen. I have to take Max here. I like to pick upsets, but with Diggs and Singletary on the bye, Marty's just way too thin this week. All right, let's move over to Grant. Squirt until it hurts. Oh, there, I said it. Versus Minis, Kanye's Kitty Killers 2024. Mini with a lot of points put up on Thursday. Kyler and Kamara both getting about 20. He has 38.66 going into the week here. It's a pretty decent start. I mean, that's around where both of them were projected, but you like to see your studs at least get close to their projections. So a good floor for him to try and pull off this upset. I love Chris Godwin right now. I mean, we can fixate on the fact that Tom Brady hasn't thrown a touchdown, but it's coming. The volume's there, and Godwin has been getting more targets than Evans. I think he is... We're going to end this season and realize that Godwin is a low-end wide receiver one. My personal take. Aaron Jones, Packers keep talking about getting him more involved. It was really ugly last week against the Jets for the Packers. Jamal Williams, potential RB1 again. It looks like Swift is not going to play. So Mini actually has a good chance here of an upset. Let's go and look over at Grant's side. He doesn't have a kicker right now, so he's going to have to drop somebody. He just picked up, he has Pierce and Beckham. So he has a too many players situation. And looking at Mini's roster, I don't think he wants to risk thinking that he's the better team. He's only projected 109 on ESPN right now. Fantasy Pros has him down at an 86 and Mini at an 89. No Jalen Hurts. No Darrell Henderson. So, and McCaffrey, we don't know. A lot of questions for Grant this week. There's never been a better time to upset him than right now. I'm gonna take Mini. I think Mini's gonna pull this one out. He's got the floor with some points already, and he, quite frankly, has more upside. Yeah, I just don't see it for Grant's team. Amon-Ra could be big, but he's coming back off an injury. Really, it all comes down to Tyreek for Grant in terms of the top guys who have some big upside. Tyreek could obviously catch a bomb and score 35 points and put Grant right back in this, but I'm taking Mini. All right, let's go to the next one. I'm really interested in here. We got Bills, McConnellsville Mutineers versus Wes's Pokeballs and Pussycats. These are 2 3-3 teams. Both of them are right there in the standings, but they feel like they're down. It feels like they have these teams above them that are difficult to overcome. For Bill, you have me, the Pipe Burst. You have Stan. You have Mark. I'll feel like they have a little more firepower than he does. And then for Wes, we talked about with Marty, of course, you have Grant and the Brads. Both of them really need a win here because they need to maintain that pace with the rest of their conference. Wes, of course, just went out to buy Lazard. Bill with the win I get on the waiver wire for Matt Ryan, thinking he's going to provide some sparks. So let's look. Let's start with Bill. I do have Ryan in there against Tennessee. That's a really good matchup. I actually think 17 points might be a little bit of a low projection due to the matchup and due to the team getting healthier. Eckler, of course, has been really good this year. Is always really good. Brian Robinson, I don't know what to make of that Washington backfield. I know there's the story. I'm starting to think Grant is right about the script, the NFL script, because Robinson only averaged 3-some yards a carry in his debut, but they kept feeding him and he got like 18 carries. So I think it's just set in stone that he's going to keep getting volume, which is good enough. Mike Evans, as I said, Mike Evans has not been Tom Brady's target hog. And I don't know if he starts getting targets because they're trying to course correct and get back to scoring more, or if Godwin has just kind of overtaken him as Brady's favorite, but still a solid, I'd say, high-end wide receiver too. Deontay Johnson, I'm going to be honest, I don't know what Kenny Pickett's situation is. I know that Trubisky pretty much only targets Chase Claypool, so whoever's starting there could make a difference. Chris Olave got 17.6 points. I forgot in the flex for Bill this past week. Bill. Admonish. Terrible, terrible. All right. The Eagles defense on bye. Everybody else, though, Bill is healthy and ready to go for this game. Over for Wes. Got Mahomes against San Francisco. Should be able to put up a lot of his normal Mahomesian stats there. Najee Harris been going down all season. Has he scored 15.2 points yet this year? He's projected on ESPN. I'm sorry, I have to look this right now. 15.9. Okay, one time. He's averaging 12.8. They haven't projected 15.2. Najee's been a disappointment, let's face it. Breece Hall, on the other hand, has been everything people expected, wanted, and more, really taking over that Jets backfield, and the Jets look better than I can remember them looking in recent memory. George Pickens over on the other side, so we have the two Pittsburgh receivers against each other, see who gets more targets, and then Alan Lazard. Obviously, we're going to be monitoring if Wes feels like the purchase was worth it. 6th round pick is nothing that, if it ends up being a bust, Wes is going to feel too bad about. Giants defense against Jacksonville. That's an interesting matchup. I definitely like Bengals against Atlanta a little more. Gabe Davis on bye. DJ Moore on the bench. Just can't trust him anymore. This is really tight. What is Fantasy Pros has Bill at a 90 and Wes down at an 89. They're right next to each other. This is a really tight one. I'm going to go with Bill here because I think Matt Ryan is being disrespected with this projection. I think Ryan gets over 20 points. I don't know. I feel like Deontay Johnson has a better game than George Pickens, especially if Trubisky might be starting. 17 already from Olave was good, even though it's in the flex and we can make fun of Bill. I like Bill here, but boy, this one is a really close one. And then, let's see. Game of the week was going to be one of these two. I think that it has to be Mark against Banis. So let's go over to Stan against Swan for the next pick. See, Stan with Joe Burrow in there. Burrow's got a great floor, even when he doesn't play well because of the volume, and we've talked about that already this year. Derrick Henry back off a bye. Stan very excited to have him. Cortland Sutton projected for 14 with no Russell Wilson. As bad as Russ has been, I think that Sutton is hurt by not having him. So I don't particularly like that. Mike Williams, of course, has been boom or bust, and we can go on and on about that. I see a lot of volatility here in Stan's lineup this week outside of Burrow and Henry, and that's kind of the story of Stan's season. Who can he get to hit in any given week? Over on Swan's side, the big story for me is that he has the same problem as Grant. They both have somebody, Grant with the kicker, now Swan with the Bills defense. You got to drop somebody. I mean, you can't risk losing this game because you didn't start someone in one position. And Stan's a good team. I mean, good enough to put up a fight here. Swan is only at an 89 on Fantasy Pros, and I'm sure that takes into account not having a defense. Stan at 91, so this is a close matchup on paper. Swan got 20 from Hopkins on Thursday. That was more than he was projected. You know, it just warms my heart to see somebody succeed who has been very openly willing to cheat. That's great. Good for him. But still, Swan has to drop somebody here. And Algier, Card, Dubs, should be Daubs. Dubs, one of them's going to have to go, and they're all very valuable. So, not extremely, but, you know, somebody's going to be picking them up or putting a bid in. So, we'll see what Swan does there. Assuming he starts a defense, I like Swan more, and I'm going to pick Swan because just the floor. I can't bet on Stan's team with Pollard, Sutton with no Wilson, Williams being his normal self. I just can't trust that they aren't going to put up some duds. The volatility is too high. I take Swan. And finally, what I'm going to call our game of the week. And a reminder, since this is the last game, you are watching, I've been noticing the count fluctuating between 1 and 3. Put in your chats now, because there is a slight delay from me recording it now to you seeing it. Banis projected for a huge week here, not unexpected, but Mark has been the little engine that could after knocking Swan off last week. You got 25 from Eno Benjamin on Thursday, which is really good. Zach Ertz disappoints with 6.1. Call that a wash between the two of them. They got a little above ESPN's projection. Let's start looking at Banis here. We got Brady, who I continue to believe in, and I continue to think that he's going to finish. I'll change my prediction. I don't think he's going to. I think it's an outside bet to say that he's going to have more points per game in our league than Lamar Jackson, but it's not impossible. I do think he's going to finish to the top 10 in our league. I'll say that now. I've adjusted my hot take. Joe Mixon, of course, steady. Barkley, steady with the ceiling. T. Higgins, what did he do last week? He's been dealing with some injury problems. Nice that live here I can check. So, yeah, only 10 points last week coming back off the injury. We hope that Higgins is back to his normal self for Banis. Well, we don't hope. I hope, because it would be beneficial to me if Mark were to lose today. But you get my point. Mark Andrews, always very steady. Damian Pierce, low-end RB1 at this point. A.J. Brown on bye. Otherwise, Banis is at full strength. I mean, you're plugging Jacoby Myers in is your weakness in your lineup. Boy, Banis and Jason have just put together a behemoth. Now, over on Mark's side, you still have Geno Smith to go. Arguably better than Brady as a starter. There's a little advantage for him. Zeke, always going to have the floor. They're always going to give him carries. Chase is what has that. Chase and potentially Lockett, but we need a big game, or Mark needs a big game from Chase if he hopes to get the upset here. Otherwise, he's just overmatched, but it is possible. We'll monitor DeAndre Swift, but the headline I saw is that he's probably not going to go. Luckily, it's a 1 o'clock game, so if he were to, Mark can sub him in. Don't know where you put him. I guess you'd swap out Gallup and put Swift in the flex. It's tough. I can't bet on Mark, but this is still my game of the week because of the stakes, because it's two arguably the best teams in each conference going against each other. So it's interesting to watch. I just don't see how you slow down Banis, though, especially when he's this close to full strength. And it's scary to think that he cannot have A.J. Brown on the bye week and still be this strong. So I'm going to take Banis here. And then, let's see. I don't believe we have any chats, which, hey, that's okay. If you guys ever want, you could just submit something in the Discord before the stream. I know people saw my post. I'm going to give a few seconds because last time, as soon as I ended the stream, somebody did post something. I'm going to be very honest with you guys right now. I forget whether I used my sign-off phrase last week that I have in my head. I don't want to repeat one. I need to start writing a list down. It's a lot easier when I'm recording it than when we're live. Okay, no chats. So that's going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoy watching this in replay. And remember, a bird in the hand is worth 2 Thursday players taken out of your flex. Bill. We'll see you next time. Hey, I am responding. Oh, great. Everything is gone. I'm in a void of darkness here. I did find the chat. So we'll see. Do you guys come back? I have the YouTube. Let's see if I have anything on OBS where I can share my. I don't have it set up. But anyway, okay. Well, I have it set up for top chat, and I figured that would just put like the popular ones at top, but it didn't show any. I needed to have live chat up. So let's see what Grant and Wes were both yelling at me. Wes hung out with my parents yesterday. I heard that. My mom was very happy to see you, and I think Max too. I don't know if you guys were together. Let's see. Grant just joined, so he got on a little bit late. Steelers and Dallas are the only 2 teams that do not have a player to score more than 20 fantasy points in standard scoring. Wow, that is interesting. Thanks for that, Grant. Wes came on just in time for the game of the week. Grant is rooting for Mark to get a big game, of course, against Banis. It would be really something if Mark could get the 2 big upsets in a row. I encourage everybody to go back to where I analyzed schedules, but Mark had a really tough one. And that seems to be it. Thanks for coming on back. Let's see. I got called a bum. Probably some other bad words. Max was there too. First time streaming, Wes asks. No, it's my second time streaming on YouTube. I used to stream on Twitch, and the setup was a little different. All right, so I do really appreciate Grant and Wes coming on, and now this won't happen again next week because I know how YouTube wants me to set the chat, and I really appreciate it. Twitch, yes. Twitch is a streaming service owned by Amazon. Unlike YouTube, the focus is primarily streaming rather than uploading pre-recorded videos. Yes, Grant, those were the good days. Yeah, I remember Wes saying, like, what Grant used to do. I'm not gonna... Oh, I can't say a lot of this. I should get, for next week, I'll put up chat. I'll figure out how to put a window for chat so that everybody can see what's happening. All right, that's going to be it. Next time, guys, get on, and I promise I'll be seeing you the whole time. It would have been nice because I was hoping to see as I was going through the games and be able to respond to commentary. All right, Wes calls it the days when Grant used to stream. Wes refers to him as Grant Theft Auto. All right, I'll see you guys next week for week 8. Good luck, everybody. I'm not